Hi everyone, and welcome to Meet Your Trading Experts live and free. My guest today is Michael Botterill. Michael, a property investor, trader, investor, and he'll be joining us for the next hour to talk about those markets and what they might look like post-COVID, as well as answer your questions on those areas. If you have any questions for Mikey, please feel free to put them into the Zoom, or you can put them on YouTube or Facebook, and I will pass them into the Zoom and we will ask them for you. As always, at the end of the show, there'll be a bit of a giveaway, and if you've asked some questions, we'll give you a couple of entries into that. Mikey, it's an important time in the world. COVID hanging around more than we want, a few more lockdowns than we want. How do you think, particularly, let's start with property. How do you think property is going to come out of this in Australia and perhaps more globally than that?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Good evening, and hello to everyone that's online and wherever you may be. So great to be part of this session. I've been part of Actions to Wealth for many, many years. So it's always great to get to know the community and share a little bit of knowledge and share a bit of thoughts. So yeah, really interesting, mate. COVID is still affecting all over the world, right? So, in Melbourne, we've recently come out of a lockdown. We had a 2-week lockdown with our third one of the year. And it's challenging, it changes things, it changes your perspectives. But what I've found, at least in the property world, and I should say, my background is property. I've been in property for 30 years, and it's something that I truly love and I really enjoy. And from a property point of view, COVID has definitely had an effect on it, in particular in Australia, but all over the world. I know the Australian market extremely well. Like I said, I've the property game I've been in for 30 plus years. And it's an interesting time from a investing point of view, from a growth point of view, and like anything, any adversity that happens in the world, there's always opportunities as long as you keep your eye out for it, and you pick as best as you can. There's always definitely some opportunities that you can take on, and property's no different. Just like everything, just like trading, just like stocks, shares, crypto, all sorts of stuff, mate. Oh, you're muted, buddy.
Mate, when we talk about opportunities, do you feel that markets in the world are going to come out in a positive way or a negative way? Look, we saw New Zealand, which had a really low problem with COVID, I guess. We had shorter lockdowns, not so much stuff. And in the end, the government had to come through and bring in some pretty outrageous taxes to try and slow the property market down. It came out of COVID and just went boom. And people in New Zealand spent COVID and those lockdown periods, instead of borrowing to go overseas, were borrowing to renovate their kitchen. And
Yeah.
It seemed to be that property was where the money went. And when we came out, the market just went bang. In fact, I think, in all honesty, the New Zealand property market probably went up 30% in the 12 months after the first COVID lockdown. Do you think we're going to see that more globally, or do you think it'll be a little bit different?
Look, on a global level, I think it's going to be different. Every market has its own unique factors that come into play when it comes to property in particular. I know the Western world properties really, really well, and obviously a little bit of Singapore and Southeast Asia as well. And from that point of view, there's no doubt that property is a sound investment. Let me put that. I'm very biased to property, as you know, mate. I always talk about property. It's something that I love. I do have a bias towards property because to me, it's one of those investments that, at least in my lifetime that I've seen, it's something that you buy, and if you have the capacity to hold, it will provide the returns for you over the longer term. And COVID, any challenges around the world, any global financial crisis is another one. That happened 13 years ago now, there or thereabouts. It was another, global catastrophe, if you want to call it that. Not that was financial. This one's more health related, which is COVID. But it's still it's impacting the world globally. But I think property will always come out as long as you're picking the right properties, the best properties that you can in your market, with the high demand. It's always a demand and supply thing. If you're picking the right properties that are in demand and that people want to live in, I think you'll always come out of property really, really well. And COVID is just it'll be a blip, and don't think that I mean from a health perspective. I know it's a massive concern and from a health perspective for everyone around the world. And I've been directly affected by COVID last year in things that happened in my life. So I'm very aware that how serious the COVID matter is around the world. But what I'm saying is 30 years from now, as we move on, if you look from an investment point of view, it'll just be one of those things that go, oh, yeah, it slowed the market or potentially it was a little bit of a blip. But coming out of COVID is when the opportunities come. And there's been that's been completely evident in the world, and in particular in Australia. You were talking about, Kiwi and New Zealand's property growing 30% or whatever it was. Australia's had the same. Our market hasn't really dipped at all in the COVID world, and we're pretty resilient when it comes to property. And we've had, coming out of COVID, beginning of this year, same, we've had 30-40% increases in our major cities, which is crazy, right? So some people are going, well, where's that? And it's those people that have been able to save a little bit of money and going, right, well, I'm going to buy a property and I can't go overseas, so I'm going to move to the beach, or I'm going to move to the country or a nice place to live. And property's definitely improved because of that.
Yeah, mate. And so I guess one of the things at the moment, you're spending a lot of time, you're a Forex trader, and you're a trend trader, right, Mikey? You're by nature in Forex, you're a trend trader, and you spend some time now working on integrating both crypto into your arsenal as well as your Forex trading. What are your thoughts on the crypto markets, mate?
Yeah, the crypto markets, I really like them. Yes, you're right. To me, it's just another investment vehicle, right? So it's an investment vehicle that is definitely top of mind from a global perspective, and probably has been for many years, but at least for me, it was something that really caught my attention sort of early beginning of this year. Obviously, you had Shukri come on and be part of the team, which definitely enhanced that as well for me. And I just saw it and I went, you know what, crypto is just another opportunity that I can look at. It's not full time. It's not a full time venture for me in any way, shape, or form, but I'm definitely dedicating a lot of time to it, just to put another string in the bow, and add something extra that I can generate some revenue, generate some profits, generate some money. And I sense with my property brain, if I apply it to crypto, and just condense it all down, there's some really good opportunities in the crypto market. I'm really enjoying it. And the other side of that is it's new for me. It's something that I'm, it's something that I have to use different parts of my brain to get going, which is fun. And I really like that. I turn 50 next next month, bloody hell. I've turned 50 in yeah, I'm mentally delaying it. I'm trying to delay it, I think. In 2 weeks I'll be 50, and it was always one of those things in my mind where I thought it was going to be a big milestone. And crypto is one of those things, and trading as well. I've been trading since 2012, so coming on 10 years now. Met you and the Actions to Wealth team around the same time 8 years ago, and the journey's been awesome. So it's just one of those things, Paul, where when you look at making money in the markets, whatever market it is, I think the more you can diversify and just put a little bit of money. Thank you. That's a nice message. Thank you. I appreciate that. Someone saying happy birthday to me in advance. I think if you can learn how to just diversify a little bit, whether it's property, whether it's stocks, shares, bonds, trading in Forex, crypto, or anything else that's of interest to you, there's always value in that. It makes a lot of sense.
Man, I want to have a look at my three charts in 3 minutes. We're going to have a look at three charts and spend 3 minutes on them reasonably soon. But before we do that, even inside crypto, right? So that's one of the great things, right? You talk about diversification. Inside Forex trading, you can trade trend, you can trade fundamentals, you can use your COT, you can use your seasonals, you can use the technicals. There's lots of different things you can do. And crypto is the same, right? We're talking about ICO. What's the difference between ICO and IDO?
Initial coin offering and initial DEX offering. So essentially the same thing. They're just a different word for the same thing.
Cool. And so you can do an IC and a half O, or you can do so you can do that kind of stuff. You can You can go yield farming, looking for high yielding stuff. You can trade them. There's all kinds of different things you can do in the crypto space as well, isn't there? You can buy and hold. You can get in and out. There's all kinds of different ways to trade it, right?
Yeah. Which is why I'm finding it so interesting, because to me, ironically, it's directly relatable to the property market, right? Because you can do the same thing in property. You can buy a block of land and build, right? So there's nothing there, and you build it from scratch. Or you can buy a property and renovate it and then flip it, right? Or you can buy and hold. You can buy this. The strategies are all the same, right? So it's really interesting, and that's actually why I'm enjoying crypto so much. I feel like I'm applying a lot of what I know from the property market into this vehicle, or this instrument. It's a different vehicle, but the concepts are the same as long as I apply, as best as I can what I know. And flipping is a perfect one, right? So flipping is sort of you buy low and you sell high, but you do it fairly quickly, right? You might add some value or whatever it is, but the turnaround is pretty quick: 1, 2, 3, 6 months, there or thereabouts. It's crypto is a really interesting game, and I didn't quite answer the question about a trend trader and all that sort of stuff that you asked me before, but definitely. From a trading point of view, I'm definitely a trend trader, and I've tried it all. And I've tried pretty much everything in the trading world: time frames, strategies, all that sort of stuff. But what I've found that works best for my lifestyle and my personality, probably more importantly, is that trend trading methodology, which is what I do today.
Cool, mate. So we'll talk about the trend trading, and people can come along and learn the flow strategy off you on Sunday afternoon, Singapore, I think it is, and we'll put that link into the chat reasonably soon. But what I'd like to do, I'd like to bring back something you just talked about buying low and selling high. I'm going to have a look at 3 charts and see if I can give some perspectives on those 3 charts. When we come back, I'd like to hear a little bit more from you about, I've got a couple of favorite questions. What was the thing you wish you learned earlier? If you had people in this watching this are probably more forex traders, maybe some crypto stuff. I'd be interested if you had one word of advice for people investing in property. What would it be? At the end of the day, it's been a pretty good investment over time. I love the fact that the bank, puts up all the money for you. Well, the majority of the money for you.
That's
return on actual capital and put up. Return on investment's ridiculous, but return on actual capital put up is insane.
Yep.
Look, let's have a look at some charts. I want to see if I can bring a bit of clarity for some people at the moment. I want to talk about 3 different charts. I'll get them up for you guys now. And I think they're a really great example. We talk a lot inside the organizations about trading is simple, not easy. And I'm gonna give you these 3 trades. There's a daily trade on the US 500, the S&P 500. Here's a daily chart on Bitcoin, and here's a weekly. We'll make that a daily chart on oil. And what I suggest to you is that as a human being, when you look at this trade, look at this chart here, and the first thing you want to do is buy oil, right? And I remember when it was, I remember when it was crashing away and all the rest of it, and COVID, and it was going to zero and below and all the rest of it. But boy, it's a nice chart when you look at that, isn't it? And look, your gut reaction, my gut reaction when I see this chart is I want to buy that, right? It's not what the trader does, but it's the emotional response to it. And very similar here with S&P. You bring a bit more of this chart in, and you just go, oh, heck, yeah, I want to buy that. It's going up, and the human response is to want to buy. And you look at the Bitcoin chart and you go, well, actually, I don't want to touch that, I don't want to touch that at all. That was a disaster. And yet, the first rule of everything we do, any type of speculation that goes on, the absolutely first rule is buy low and sell high. We are not taught buy high or buy really high. We're taught buy low. And the actual truth of these charts is that when you start digging into them a little bit, look, people have got to make their own decisions on timing and whether crypto's their thing or not. And this isn't really my point. My point is that everybody knows to buy low, but buying low in actuality is quite difficult. It takes a certain amount of courage, and it's actually quite hard to do in a real life situation. It's great in the textbook. If you go back and you look at these charts and go, oh no, I should have bought it here and sold it there, and that's completely right. But it's not easy to do. And we're looking at an opportunity. We need to make some decisions around how to do this. And look, I thought I'd play with these charts a little bit. And the first thing I'm going to do is have a little look at Bitcoin. And I am going to put this level on right here. And I'm going to tell you that I think you need a stop loss below 28,600. If you're going to buy this, I think you need a stop loss below 28,600, which at the moment will give you a stop loss of about $5,000. And if we spin that around, and I'm not saying, please, I'm not saying buy it now, I'm just giving you some areas. There's a stop loss around 5,000. If it goes back up to the top, you got 6 to 1. So I think there's some opportunity there. And for mine, I wouldn't be buying it yet. But what I would be doing is feeling that if it's above here, I'm probably quite comfortable might have a bottom. If it gets below here, I'll be looking for that 19,800 sort of level. Yeah, 19,800 sort of level as a low. And so for mine, there's probably some quite good buying opportunities here. But look, if you have a look at this chart here, right? So here's support tested. Here it's tested as resistance, retested as support, tested as support, tested as support, and tested as support. Now, it's really hard to buy this, right? It feels really hard to buy this, but when I look at this chart, the chart that it reminds me of, I'll just chop this up if you don't mind. The chart that it reminds me of is a different chart that starts with X. It's this one. And look, I know that gold's pulling back at the moment, but see this here? Here was our sign at the bottom of this move down that gold had enough and was going to rally. And for mine, it looks a lot like this move down and a double bottom. And is it going to rally? I'm not sure. I think you need to wait and find the best buy of gold for mine was here and here, right? You should have made good money out of those at low risk. I'm not sure you should have been buying in these areas here because I think you took a lot of risk. But are there opportunities coming off this? I think there is. And you're buying low. And if Bitcoin does what they're saying and goes up to 100,000, on a $5,000 stop loss, you've got 12 to 1 on this, So there's plenty of space to do that kind of stuff. For me, just so you guys know, and while we're talking about the charts, is that for me, oops, wrong one. There are my numbers there, guys. I'm very much, as it turns, I'm a bull below 28,900, that sort of area, and I'm a bear above 41,500, looking to go longer. And in here, I'm probably a little bit indifferent. But one of the things I wouldn't mind doing in here is just looking to build a little bit. If I got a little higher low somewhere around here, I might start and build a position, a small position as we head up to here, get a retest and add to my position and try and get back up to here. My point is that when you look at this chart, it doesn't look to me like it's in free fall, and there's some clear areas. You need a stop loss underneath here, because if it goes through here, I think it probably is going to here. Whereas when you look at S&P 500 as an example, right? So what's next for this, And if we bring this in and put on a monthly chart, what we'll find is that we're at all-time highs. We're at massive all-time highs. So if you buy massive all-time highs, you take a certain amount of risk. And look, when you're looking at this kind of stuff, if you're looking for something to do, how do you work out targets and levels? I'll do it on a daily chart. This is always a bit interesting for you guys. But if you're looking to go into new territory, if you're taking out new highs, how do you set targets? Well, for me, you're probably looking to use fib extensions, not fib retracements. And I'd just be measuring this and seeing what the fib extension, perhaps 1.618, is going up. And that would give you a target. But anything in this area here would have me pretty nervous. That'll get you up to there. You'll find a lot of these retracements will have found some level of hesitation around the 1.618 and the 2.618 fib levels. They'll hesitate here because when you're at new highs, these are the tools that traders use for targets. And all you do is you drag it down the You drag it down the retracement leg. And you put it on there. And generally speaking, it hasn't hesitated here. It has created a level of support following through on the next move. And the next one here, let me take this one away. So that high there is the 2.618, is it? Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, it's 1.618 there. But it won't be too far away from a 2.61. It's not on this fib. Just a little higher. I don't see a lot of space to go on this. And again, I think the point I'm trying to make here is that what you see and what you want to do doesn't always make a lot of sense. You know, we're in new territory here. If you buy a new high in a market, you've got a 90% chance of failure. If you buy a retracement in a market, you've got a strong chance of success. And what we want to do is we always want to buy what's going up. I think the oil one's another one where when we look at this chart, you know, you just look at this chart and human nature is, I want to buy this, right? Human nature is, I want to buy this. And, you know, I've been long oil for a while and talking oil up, and I do have a long-term target on oil. That's a fair bit up from here. And I've just had the automation Tommy trader on this, and we've taken some money on this move up, and it's been quite good fun, you know. But when you look at this, when you bring it into weekly, what you realize is that there is some decent resistance straight above where we are, and that it's likely to take a little while to break through that. And so these levels here, you know, they are an issue. And when you look at a daily chart, I think it's really easy not to go back far enough and to miss that kind of stuff. And it puts resistance on all at 74.68, and I'd be a bit nervous about it. And I guess what I'm saying here is when you're looking at markets, and we're talking about, you know, crypto, we're talking about property, we're talking about houses. All I'm saying is when you look at the market, look a bit deeper and understand that buying a market that's going up is the most tempting thing to do in the world, but buying a market that's going up can be a particularly dangerous thing to do, and a thing that can lead to quite difficult times. One of the things about these markets, which I'm going to call inflationary markets, is that they tend to go up quite slowly and down quite sharply, up quite quickly and down quite sharply, up bit more there, up, down quite sharply, down quite sharply, down very sharply, down quite sharply, you know, down very sharply, down very sharply. And that's the risk of being in these things and trying to buy tops on it. So I think when we're looking at markets, one of the things we're looking to do is understand where opportunities lie. Look, if I got a 4 hour, actually, if I got that there right now, 4 hour high or low on Bitcoin, I could well trade that. And if I trade it, a little bit of resistance around here to be aware of, quite a bit really, I guess, in the 4 hourly chart. But I could be interested in that, and I would split my position and put half my position stop loss underneath there and half my position stop loss underneath there and have a bit of a look at it. You know, we're bouncing off some decent support, put in a high, low, bouncing away. If you get up there, take some money off at the top. And only very, very small position size, because what you're looking to do, you know, if you believe this is a bullish story, you believe it's got at least $30,000 to go. If you get in here with a stop loss at the bottom of the bar, you know, you've got a long, long, long way to go to get 30,000, you know, 20 to 1. So I'll be trading that at very small risk with a view to, once I get above this level, building that position. If I get stopped out, I'll just be waiting to make a decision down here. But what I wouldn't be doing is doing what I think is the easy option, which is trying to buy a high and trying to be scared of put some of the pullback. The first thing we're taught is, you know, buy low, sell high. And I think, Mike, it's the hardest part, right? Be it a property, be it anything. When prices are falling, it's hard to buy, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think any investor in the world or anyone who is in the financial markets of any kind would say the same thing. You know, I get taught buy low, sell high, but it's scary. Like, you know, you just look at that chart that's in front of us right now. You know, the last 4 to 3 days, whatever it is, that's a pretty scary drop, right? You look at that and you go, I'm not buying that. There's no way I'm buying that. Yeah. But that's exactly the right time to buy it. As long as you're buying exactly as you've demonstrated, as long as there's a reason to buy. You don't just buy nilly-willy or randomly, I should say. there's a reason, and that reason is there's a support level there that you've drawn in and gone, yeah, well, that looks like a nice bounce level or support level. It makes sense to buy there. Now, does that mean it's going to work out? Not necessarily, but at least you're adding a reason and a purpose to what you're trying to do. But yeah, it's scary. It's scary when you're seeing the markets go down. And property is the same, mate. Ironically, in Australia, we haven't, and probably New Zealand's the same, but at least in Australia, we've never really had a property collapse, if you want to call it that. Compared to the US, and for anyone who's from the US that may be in, I'm not trying to pick on the US, but the property market in the US has had collapses, like calamity collapses. We haven't really had that in around the Australian market. So, at least if I relate it back to property, there hasn't really been perfect times to buy in a dip in Australia. There's been a little bit, but most times it's just be patient. And this is another example. What you're talking about here is you're talking about scaling in, your position, adding to your position. And it's the same sort of concept. It's sort of like just be patient and add to it. Buy at the beginning, and if it keeps going, then add a little bit more on the next pullback or next dip. And pretty any financial market's the same concept.
Look, I think one of the things with this kind of stuff, Mikey, isn't it? It's about being able to separate yourself from the feelings around it. And when I look at a chart that's going up in a line, I want to buy it. That's how I feel. And the brain comes in and goes, actually, just wait for a retracement, Paul. There'll be one. And when you get it, you make some money. And same when I see something falling, I just want to sell it. But really, I know I want to try and buy. The way to make money is to buy value. And look, there's been some great opportunities around for those that know we've got a bit of interest in privacy swap. And if you bought that maybe yesterday morning, you've made maybe 30% in a day, and those opportunities turn up, and you just but you haven't made it because you bought it when it was $74, on the way up. You've made it because you bought it at $10 on the way down, and that takes courage. But courage gets rewarded, and stupidity gets punished, and courage gets rewarded, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, mate, let's stay on property for a minute. We'll talk a bit more about crypto and forex as we go along. But if you had one piece of advice for somebody starting out looking to do some property investing, what would it be?
Buy property today. It's the reason I say that is it's pretty much what my parents told me. Some people have heard my story. I'm not going to go into the whole story of how I got into property, but I'll shorten it down to this. My parents literally gave me a deposit for a property and said, go and buy a property now. And I had no idea how to do it. Like, this was 30 years ago, right? I was 20 or 21. And I had no idea. I had no idea how to do it. Where do I go? Except that, I should start at a real estate agent. So that would be my piece of advice. Now, there's obviously I got lucky, except lucky to the extent of I still own that property today. So I've had the time of just time, But one piece of advice: go out and buy a property today. Go to the right market, or look in the area, whatever country you're in. Look for a property that's in demand, someone who would want to live there. And obviously, when I say buy a property, I'm talking about rental properties, right? So yes, I do have a property that I live in as well, but you only buy one of those. The rest of them are assets, that people rent or pay you money to live in, and rental and leasing and stuff. So that would be my advice. No matter where you are in the market, yes, unless you're in a highly volatile property market, sooner or later, if you've got the patience and time, you'll make money from that property. And I'm pretty confident in any major Western world any Western country in the world, that holds true. That holds true.
Yeah, I can't think of one of the properties that I've owned, Mikey, that I've done better by selling it than I would have done by holding it. If I'd held them, you sell them for different reasons, right? I've seen it buy homes to live in, and then turn them into rentals when I've moved out of them, and eventually you cash them up. But really, from an investor, from a financial point of view, just holding them would financially have been better for you no matter what, right?
Yep, for sure.
This is what compounding interest does, right? It makes these things over a long period of time more valuable.
And that's it. And that's pretty much why I've stayed in property. To me, property has been one of those things that it's been a slow burn. I'm going to be really upfront. Yeah, I've done flipping, I've done property development, which, many of the people know about my property development days and my background in that as well. But as an investor in property, I can honestly say I bought and held, and it was always the strategy that I learnt, and then that I thought that's what I'm going to do. And, you alluded to this a little bit earlier. You just touched on it. The best thing about property to me is the bank gives you 80% to buy the thing, at least, right? It's
Yeah.
it's just so awesome.
No, honestly, even worse, Mikey, when you own one, they give you 100%.
Yeah, correct.
Correct. I have a house that just sort of round figures has doubled in value in the last 3 years, and I put no money into it. And I just said to the bank, I want another house. They said, no problems. There's a mortgage paid off. Well, fair enough, no problems with that. But my deposit came out of my equity. And what we're saying here, guys, is that, and I'm going to use really simple figures, is that if you buy a house for $100,000 and you put up a $20,000 deposit, right? So the house doubles from $100,000 to $200,000 in value, and people think they've made $200,000. House gone from $100,000 to $200,000, but really, as an investor, you've put up $20,000 and made $180,000 and made 900%. And property is one of the few things where the bank will leverage you in. And look, those numbers are very simple because you've paid, presumably you paid mortgages, or there's been a cost of you having that money invested. It's not quite as simple as that, but in general terms, it's unmatched, right?
Yeah. And that's without a doubt the reason. Again, I've stayed in property, and banks literally come to you and go, yeah, well, you've got a pretty good portfolio there. We'll lend you money. Yeah. And it's really nice. Now, obviously, no financial advice here or anything like that. You do need to be careful. You don't want to over leverage yourself, which was, go back to the GFC days, right? So it's not exactly what happened, but it's very close to what happened, where people were just over leveraged and banks were just giving out money left, right, and center. And it all fell over, right? So you do got to be, you have to be careful with that. So
someone calls your house subprime, you don't know what it means. Look it up in the dictionary. It's not a good thing to have a subprime house. Never mind buy all the mortgages on subprime. God, would you ever buy subprime chicken? I don't think you would, right? Property is, so if we're talking about the places and the pieces in the investment puzzle, right, Mikey? Property is the big piece. That's the 20, 30, 40, 50-year investment. You get a long-term return on your money that's unparalleled. And in between, what you're looking to do is to balance up what you're doing between some higher risk, high reward stuff, because the property's sort of the low risk, solid return. It's a lot of money, but it takes a while. And this is where Forex and crypto comes in, right? Or stocks, whatever else it is, where you're looking to make money a little bit more quickly, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I have to share, this is the exact reason that I got into trading, right? So I met you, like I said, 8, 9 years ago, whatever it was. And I just started my trading journey then in 2012. But the only reason I went into trading is because I went, oh, well, I can get some cash flow. Now, I was flipping properties and doing sort of stuff, which is cash flow, but it's still a long burn in property. But property was always that bedrock, that foundational asset wealth for me. And the property, or I should say the trading came into it because I looked at it and went, oh, well, this can be my cash flow vehicle, or at least one of them. At the beginning it wasn't, but it was definitely where it came into. And crypto's the same, right? Fast forward 7 years to where I am now, after trading, I'm back at that pace with crypto going, I reckon I can get some pretty good cash flow out of this for a year or two, or however long the crypto market's going to be around. Let's hope it's around for a long time. But if it's not, that's okay, right? If I can get in there and make double my money, whatever I put in, if I can double my money, that's pretty good. And if I can make more, it's cream on top.
Yeah, mate, it's one of the things, right? We're not saying here, everybody, just go throw money at the crypto market randomly. Both of us crypto provides a reasonably small amount of our wealth, if you like. We don't have a lot of our wealth in crypto. I'm not suggesting to anyone, go and put your life savings into it. It's just one of the things you can do. For mine, crypto is the most aggressive, and you can make the money the quickest. You take the highest risk. Forex, because of the nature of Forex, which are more long-term. Forex pairs are range bound, long-term in the big picture. And it means it's safer to make slower money more consistently. Stocks kind of fit somewhere in the middle. It depends on your personality, I guess, to some degree. So let's talk Forex markets, Mikey. First of all, let's get Mai to put the link in. I mean, this is no big sell or anything. Your program on Sunday is free. If you want to come along, you can come along for free. Just register for it, and we'll get you in. I'll get Mai to post that link for you now, so that you can come along if you want to come along. But it's no problem at all, mate. So you're more than welcome, man. I think it's man. If you do want to join Mikey in the flow on Sunday, click on the link and register for that now. Actually, Mikey, let's talk about it. What are we covering on Sunday? What are we going to learn? What is the flow?
Yeah, well, let me cover what the flow is. So I can see some very familiar names in the guest list or the panel list, the attendees list, I should say. So they'll know what the flow is. But it's a trend trading strategy. Let's go right back to the core basis. It's exactly that. It's, if we take a look at the chart that's on the screen, the Bitcoin 4 hour, if the flow is on a daily time frame, actually, if you go back to the daily time frame PB, if you can, it'll sort of help build the picture. It's literally that. It's buying the trend at a certain area that an indicator and the strategy gives you an indication to buy. And what is the flow? It's a very, very simple strategy. It's on the daily time frame. And I should say, for me, why I trade the flow is probably a good area to start is, way back when I started my trading career, I was pretty busy, right? I've been through all the time frames and, 4 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes, all that sort of stuff. But I just didn't have the time at that stage of my life to focus on trading all that much, right? And for me, the daily time frame really resonated. And some people know this. I originally started with you, Paul, as in the daily wave rider strategy. So the daily wave rider is an awesome strategy, and I know it's gone through some recent tweaks and improvements, and it's going gangbusters and going really, really well. And that's where I started, but it's similar, right? So the daily wave rider is a trend trading strategy. It's exactly the same. And the flow was sort of birthed out of that. It was sort of, luckily, again, I'll go through this story in a bit more detail on Sunday for everyone who joins me there. But, I got to spend some time with Paul's mentor, a guy named Julian, and many of you know Julian McCree, I'm sure. And I got to spend some time with Julian, and the flow was sort of came out of that. And the reason that the flow happened was I was just looking for a nice, simple, purely technical analysis strategy. There is some subjectivity that you can add, but it's still technical. It's about support and resistance and indicators and all that sort of stuff, which gave me really, really clear indication of an extension and then a pullback and buying in on that pullback or retracement. And I was looking for a nice, clean, simple way to do that. And that's where flow came from. And that's essentially what the flow is. It's a daily time frame trend trading strategy.
Probably the simplest strategy we've got, isn't it, Mikey? There isn't lots of hidden amazement. It's a nice, simple strategy that makes money, right?
Yeah, it is. Without saying that the other guys and I love all the team in Actions to Wealth. I got to tell you, just before I answer that, it's part of the reason that I'm here. It's just an awesome place to be, and the people that are in it, the guys, the traders, we all learn from each other, and that was part of what the flow was as well. But yeah, the flow is just a very, very clean, simple. If this is here and this is here and this is here, you take the trade. And when I say this and this, you'll learn what that is on Sunday. It's very simple. Whether you're an experienced trader or you're a complete novice, brand new to trading, the flow is for you, because there's nothing else that you really need to learn besides what I'll teach you on Sunday. Yes, you can add stuff like fundamentals and all that sort of stuff if you're experienced enough to do that. But even without the fundamental stuff, the flow will still help you to be able to trade and be profitable.
Mikey, the flow, when we say it's simple, you're going to teach this top to tail in 4 hours, right? We're 2 to 6 on Sunday, and what's more, you'll be finished early, right?
Yeah. So I got a message from James today saying, can you finish 15 minutes early or so? But which is perfectly fine. I usually get through it in about 3 hours, in all sincerity. And then I open up the floor to questions and answers, which are a few. And the great thing that I can say about where I'm at with flow, I've been doing flow now for 4 years, or 3.5, teaching flow for 3.5 years, but doing the flow for 4. It started back in 2017. I couldn't believe it when I looked at it the other day. But the great thing about it is that I've done it so often that I know the questions that come up, and I answer the questions in the presentation. So there's actually not too many questions. There always is, but I've done it so often now that I know what most people are going to ask. And just as a preempt, it's really simple. You'll get it done, and pretty much on Monday, you'll be able to start trading it.
And the flow
Monday really after I teach you.
The flow is really about looking for good pullbacks and good opportunities, and we're looking to make good returns. We're not looking for 1/2 to 1 or 1 to 1 on this. We're looking to make some pretty good returns, right?
Yeah, that's a really great point. Thanks for bringing it up. Without a doubt, this is a trend trading strategy, but it's a trend trading strategy that you get the best results by staying in the trade. Now, there are a few trades that you'll get break-even trades. There'll be a few losses, of course. That's any trading strategy. You will have some losses. You'll get some break-evens. But the ones that are the big winners, when they happen, you'll make somewhere like 4, 5, 6, 10 to 1, as long as you stay in the trade. So that was something else that I really focused on with your help as well, and you helped me to sort of go, if we're going to go into these, let's stay in them and get the best that we can out of them.
Cheers, mate. So that's the flow. Let's talk a little bit about back. Let's swing back around to actually, before that, I'm going to ask you the same question. What's the one thing that you wish you'd learned about Forex trading earlier?
About Forex trading, I think it's probably a stock standard answer, but just be patient and don't try and force trades. There's been plenty of times in the beginning where a trade looked like a trade, based upon the strategies that I learned, or I thought I could trade better than the strategy that I was learnt. And I'm not saying you can't, but it's definitely that patience game. If you've got a strategy that you're trading, wait for the setup. Just wait for it. Don't try and tweak it and improve on it and think that you can beat the system, if you want to call it that. Yeah, you can improve it over time, but when you begin, just trade what it is and be patient. And that goes a long way for me. I wish I learned patience a lot sooner than I had.
Cheers, Mikey. So let's get back here and talk a little bit about the crypto space, mate. So plenty of different ways to get involved for those that want to get involved. And really, I think that if you're looking to do ICOs, IDOs, whichever way you want to call them, there's kind of two approaches, right? There's the way that Shukri does inside perhaps Crypto Moon, etc., where you do you're looking to do Twitter posts and all this kind of stuff, and you do quite a lot of work. And what you're hoping for is first of all some airdrops. That's been a pretty good run lately, I understand, on the airdrops, and you're hoping that people more or less will give you some coins. The other way is buy to a launch pad and get guaranteed allocations in different things. Well, and I think Shukri's about making a launchpad model available ongoing. What are your thoughts on the difference between a launchpad and doing the work?
Yeah, look, again, great question. For me, I think it depends upon where you are in your life, if that makes sense. If you've got the opportunity to invest into a launchpad and to get guaranteed allocation, let's call it that, right? So you buy a certain amount of the coin or the token required on that launchpad, which then they'll turn around and say, okay, because you own a certain amount, a dollar value amount or a quantity amount, we're going to guarantee you allocation on every IDO that we have. And that's what I do predominantly now. And this just because I've bought a few tokens and working with a few launch pads, and that's what I do. That said, when I first started in the crypto journey, I learned from Shukri, back in March. That's how recent it's been. I did the Shukri program in March, and I went through all of that process of the airdrops and the Twitter and the social media and all that sort of stuff. One, to learn it, but two, because I thought that was theoretically the only way before I went to the launchpad stuff. And both have their merits and both have their values. And again, it just depends where you are in your life and your lifestyle. And I did a lot of the airdrop stuff and social media, and it just didn't align with me, mainly because of time. And I'm just going to be very transparent here. I've got a young family as well. I've got two daughters, 8 and 10, and take them to school and had a business and all that sort of stuff. So from a time point of view, I actually couldn't do all the social media stuff. But ironically, and I literally said this to Paul today, I did a lot of the airdrop stuff back in March and beginning of April. And this week, just by chance, I don't know why, over the last sort of 10 days, I've had 6 airdrops from that work, if you want to call it that, if it was work, if you want to call it that, which is really weird. And I went, because some of these tokens just started turning up in my wallet, wallet meaning my, my crypto wallet. And I'm going, what is this? Where's this coming from? And then I look back at the history that I'd done. I went, oh my goodness, it's from this work that I did 4 weeks ago, more, 6 weeks ago. So it does work. It does add value, and it just determines on where your time opportunity sits and where your I suppose your value in the sense of how much money you've got to invest into this. Hopefully that answers the question.
So sort of 2 options, Mikey. If you've got the time, then you can do the social media approach and try and get yourself stuff airdropped, the ICOs given to you, etc. And if you don't really have the time, you've got to spend the money. You've got to buy into the launch pads, and they've got different levels. If you buy, the more you buy, the more allocation they don't give it to you. They sell it to you, but they guarantee they'll sell it to you.
Correct.
The social media things, you might get it. You get some, you won't get others. In the paid version, you get it guaranteed. You just got to pay the price. It's pretty. Look, there's a number of them around, isn't there? Card Starter, Launchpad, Trustpad, Launchpad. There's a few new ones out as well. And you can pay anything to get a guaranteed allocation. You can pay anything from a couple of $1,000s to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 at the moment, right?
Correct. Yeah. And that's pretty much the way it is. And at least for me, when I first started doing this, from a money input point of view, I was pretty conservative in the beginning, and I sort of went, well, because crypto was brand new to me, I didn't want to invest a whole bunch of money, but now that's sort of evolved, and I've put a little bit more money into some of these launch pads that you're talking about to get the guaranteed allocation. And for me, it just works well because it just, I turn up when the IDO happens, you register. There's a buying window, you get your guaranteed allocation. They tell you how much you can buy and you just buy, and then you claim your tokens, right? And whether you can sell those at an immediate profit or you have to wait a little bit, everyone's different and every IDO is different. But that's the concept. And I had a question from a friend of mine actually recently who I was talking about this with, and he sort of said, how does it work? And it's exactly like an IPO, right? So if you talk about stocks and shares or bonds, that sort of world, it's an IPO, an initial public offering in a company. Essentially, it's the same thing for anyone who's trying to figure out, what is it? How does it work? It's the same thing. You get shares in a company at an initial offering value, and they list the company. And then you can do whatever you want with your shares. You can sell them on the market, or you can hold them if you're a long-term investor, whatever it may be.
Cool, Mikey. Thanks for that. So, mate, when it comes to forex trading, we talked a little bit about property, and the advice really is to buy a house if you get a chance to buy a house, and to take that as the sort of cornerstone of your investing. And again, guys, please, when we say advice, we're not here to give direct. We're a YouTube show. We're not here to give direct financial advice. You can definitely get some professional advice before you buy a house. Don't just watch it go on YouTube and go and spend $1 million on a property.
Please don't.
All the time do that. Do it well. What we're here is big picture concept sort of stuff, as opposed to direct financial advice. So we'll talk a little bit about crypto, about ICOs, IDOs, about the different ways of getting into those. You can trade crypto on things like eToro. You can follow people. You can get wallets in places like Binance. Bit of investigation going for Binance, but you can something like Binance, and you can just buy and hold different coins in your wallet. Different ways of doing it. What about Forex? So we're looking for trend trading for you.
100%. Yeah. That to me, through all the trials and tribulations, it just seems like the thing that aligns to me best. Now, interestingly, the markets as a whole, there've definitely been some great trend trades, but as a whole, the market's been fairly rangy for the last, I'm going to call it a couple of months, I reckon.
It's been,
it's been, on a daily time frame. Sure, on the shorter time frames, there's always trends that you can get into, but there's definitely been some ranges. But to me, that's actually awesome, because what it means is we're closer to a trend breaking out rather than not. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be next week or next month even. I don't know when, but what I do know, and this is what I sort of talk about with the guys in flow in the coaching sessions, when it comes in the next, let's call it 1 to 2 months, we're going to have some really nice trends, I believe. Things are setting up. There's some accumulation that's happening in a lot of the pairs, in particular the majors and minors. And we had a breakout last week, where there's a lot of US dollar strength. And it looked like a beginning of something, and now there's a little bit of a pullback happening, and I sense in the next 2 weeks we're going to get some really good entries. Aussie dollar was one, euro dollar, had some really nice
dollar CAD, wasn't it?
Dollar CAD as well. Yeah, dollar CAD was really good. You can see, right? So that one, I'm actually, can you bring up the Aussie dollar? The Aussie dollar, I'm actually looking to go short on the Aussie dollar in the next, I'm going to say 1 to 2 weeks. Not that this is any kind of advice and anything that someone should be doing, but to me, that's a really nice sign. There is a little bit of support in the way there, but the fact that we've now got that lower low breaking below there exactly, and we've got a nice close below it, and potentially in the next couple of days or even a couple of weeks, if I get a nice entry to go short, and I'll be looking to take that short.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get a reversal bar that just popped down below the moving average, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The moving average is a little bit of a worry. That's the 200, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yeah. So, but other than that, it's a nice breakdown.
Nice. We will wait and see, and hopefully those that do your course on Sunday will know how to find use the right tools to find the right entries for trend trading. Look, it's one of the things that we know, and I think these moves show this to us, right? Is that the longer a market goes sideways, the more aggressively it's likely to break out. And quite often what people do, and look, I don't think it's a great science or anything, but what people do is they measure the length of the range.
Yep.
And they suggest that price will go that far one way or another,
Yep.
And if it's going to do that, that is a long move down or a long move up, So, I'd be interested to see if it does come out with that kind of bang, but certainly we have been, I guess we're a bit out of it now as well, so maybe we could call the range, ending around there, starting around there. It certainly has had its moments going nowhere, and what follows markets always do the same thing. It's action followed by inaction, decision followed by indecision. These are how markets work, and I like your Aussie dollar short, Mikey, and I certainly think if we can get a close below that 200-day moving average, you start getting some interesting targets in play, because there aren't a lot of targets too close from my recollection on this. There's not a lot of stuff you just think, that's in the way. You can get down to here before you start worrying about any of it. Really some sort of targets down around here.
Yep, back around the 70 cents level for sure.
Bit of space down to that. Look, Mikey, thanks very much, mate. I really enjoyed you having on the show.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
We're going to give away a prize. Mike's going to organise the Circle of Trading Success. If you can get anyone, if you're on YouTube or Facebook and you'd like to go into the prize draw, then just type your name in, and Maya will add it into the circle of luck, and she'll do your draw. If you've asked any questions, no, we've had too many questions today. She will give you 2 entries, and we will do a draw. Winner of the draw today will get a couple of weeks, 2 weeks of the 2 weeks of the strategy bias group that we operate from Access to Wealth, where you get the access to the seasonal data, the COT data, the fundamental opinions of 2 senior traders, as well as a breakdown of the majority of currencies and products around. So, look, Mike, I'm going to get you to, before we do it, let's put the link to the flow in again, and then we will go to you and have a look at this and do the Wheel of Fortune and see if we can give away a couple of weeks of strategy bias group, the market bias group, and there we go. Okay, Mike, hand over to you. You can share if that's okay. Let's see if Crystal can win today. Rightio. Let's see what's going to happen here. Now, our winner is Lee. Lee, you need to just let us know you're in the chat in the room. If you can just post in saying that you're here, then
Awesome.
we will give you the prize. If you don't come in the next few minutes and tell us that you're here, we will do a redraw. We love the odd redraw. So, Lee, if you're in the room and you have won this, then please let us know so you can have the prize. Let me have a bit of a look and see. So JKL.
Oh, Mai's also asking for his full name, please.
Cool. Yep, Lee would need your full name so we can give you a prize. But if you don't type in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to do redraw. Nothing like a redraw. Rightio, Lee, I'm sorry we haven't heard from you, so we're going to do redraw. Can we have redraw, please, Mai? Press pretty close last time. Let's see how we go this time.
Oh, one off again, Paresh.
Nice. Is it Jal? If you could let us know you're in, please, Jal. We'd like to have, if you can confirm you are in, we will give you the prize. We can see people are in, but if they don't, say hi. Jal Vitor, if you could let us know that you are in, we will give you the prize. Otherwise, I'm going to do my first ever second redraw. Redraw number 2. All you've got to do is jump into the chat and say, hey, I'm here, and we will organize this prize for you. If you don't jump in the chat and say anything, then I'm going to do a redraw number 2. You know, this is what happens when you minimize your screen and start cooking dinner, right?
Yeah.
Here we are,
exactly.
Here we are, giving my pearls of wisdom, and you minimize your screen and you don't hear this stuff, you don't see this stuff, and you don't realize that it's actually you. I mispronounced your name a little bit by mistake, and all of a sudden, you don't get your prize. One more, Mai. I'm going to do one more. Let's do it once more. Let's get a winner this time, please, Mai. Let's have a winner, please. I'm not doing 4. Someone's going to win it. They're going to win it now. It's got to be Paresh. We've just got them both times. Let's see if we can give it to Paresh. Come on, get around a bit further. Oh, Candice is going to win it. Oh, no. Candice didn't win it. Is it Yen? We are going to make...
Yep, got an answer.
Yay, we've got a winner.
Yay, congratulations.
Mai will hand your details on to James. He's on annual leave until Monday, so early next week, someone will get in touch with you and show you how to join the group. Thank you. Congratulations. Mikey, thank you. Always good to have some different people coming in. I really like the chance to talk about property and crypto as opposed to doing a lot of just Forex.
Yeah,
thanks for
thanks,
your time and your professional opinions. It's great to see having different people with different expertise on here. And to those that join you on Sunday, they're in for a treat, mate. 4 hours, simple strategy. Big winners we're looking for. This is for the Jaguars and the polar bears out there, for personality type personal stuff. If that's who you are, doing,
thanks, mate. Thanks. Yeah, I just want to say, from my point of view, thanks. It's always nice to share and great to be part of the Actions to Wealth community. And I hope people got value out of tonight. And onwards and upwards. And for anyone who's wondering, part of Flow, I'm literally going to go straight into strategy leader coaching right now. So I'll hang up here and I'll get into the strategy leader coaching. So I'll see all the Flow guys in there then. And for anyone else, please, I'd love to have you there on Sunday. I'll give my best, I'll give my all and help you guys learn a new strategy.
Cheers, Mikey. Thank you very much. We'll see you on Sunday, Mikey, and I'll see you guys back here next Thursday for another Meet Your Trading Experts.
Thanks, guys. Bye, guys.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you. See ya.